Hi, my name's Cameron Sheets. I'm with Queerty, and I'm so thrilled to be joined today by Jelani Alladin and Noah J. Ricketts from Fellow Travelers. How's it going, you guys?
Oh,
Good, good. How are
we're
you,
feeling
Cameron?
pretty good.
I'm great now. I'm happy to be talking to you two. First of all, congrats on the series. I hope you guys have been feeling the love. Like it's just, it's an overused phrase, but this is a show that feels like, it's like now more than ever. I feel like this is a show we really need to be seeing. So I'm so thrilled it's out there. And I think as a first question, I'm just curious, like, have you heard or seen any feedback that's really stuck with you, that's meant a lot to you thus far?
I feel so incredibly proud of this show in a way that I haven't really felt about art that I've made in a while. And I was on the street walking out of the gym, and a woman walks past me and she looks at me, and I was like, okay, that's weird. But then she grabs my arm, and I'm like, oh gosh, what's gonna happen now? And she's like, I'm sorry, are you in Fellow Travelers? And I was like, yes. She's like, I just have to let you know that my dad is a hawk, and that watching your show has enlightened me to what his experience must have been. He married my mom, had me, and just came out as gay. And I am now, because of your show, I'm able to process what he went through and have more empathy for him. And I lost it on the street. She was in tears, fully crying. It was a beautiful, beautiful moment. And to know that the show is being received on that personal of a level is why we make art.
I've had so many gays from the older generation reach out, and I actually had Thanksgiving with an older couple, and he's just looking at me and telling me, he just says, "I feel like I'm watching my life on screen." And when he said that to me, it hit me so deeply, because I was like, yeah, we really get to honor the gay experience from a different perspective that I feel like we rarely see on TV. And so just having that outpouring of that we got it right, that sample of approval, that we actually nailed it, it feels good. It feels like we're honoring something greater than ourselves. And I hope that the love keeps pouring in.
Black people feel seen. So often we are deleted out of the story. I mean, it's not lost on me that Marcus and Frankie were not in the original source material by Thomas Malin. This is a chance to open up the lens on the people that existed at this time. And I feel so honored that we get to stand in the space for our Black brothers and sisters.
I'm kind of curious, beyond what's in the script, what was on the page, what sort of work and research did the two of you put into finding out who these characters are, who folks like them might have been back in the day, and bringing them to life on screen?
A lot of queer people think that gay history began at Stonewall. And, I have to say, like, it's of no fault of their own that they believe that. Our history, we experienced so much erasure. And so for me, my computer was my best friend of Googling, of finding these niche documentaries that highlighted the trans experience, that highlighted the drag experience from a different perspective, and really diving deep and digging for that source material, because it really is, Cameron, it's kind of hard to find. And
Yeah.
I love that this show brings a unique perspective and a very unique time frame to the mainstream, because I want gay people to realize that our history runs deep and it runs wide. And the reason we're able to be so out and proud and happy and have our pride celebrations is because of all that you're saying on screen, and all of that history that we experience on the screen is real.
Noah, were you able to look back and listen to, and were you digging through old music specifically? I know that Stormé is a character in the series and is a real person, so I think that there's like a cool foundation to build off of there.
Yeah, there is. The whole history of Stormé is pretty amazing, and they have this whole debate about who threw the first brick at Stonewall, and she's wrapped up in there too. And if you listen really closely to the music that we sing together and apart on the series, we worked really closely to make sure that we had jazz influence always, because of where Stormé comes from in New Orleans and where my character came from as well. And so we try to get these little kind of, I guess I call them Easter eggs, inserted in there. And we had a wonderful pianist named Andy who made my arrangement of Santa Baby. And he made it in this very authentic jazz style, so that we could really honor the period and also honor the Black experience as well.
I actually spoke to Ron Nicewander the other week, our intrepid leader, and he told me that he specifically with you that you had kept diaries in Marcus's voice throughout production, and I wondered if you wouldn't mind talking a little bit about that and whether or not that's something you do with many of your roles, or why you feel that is like an additive part of the experience for you.
So I always joke with Ron on set. I was like, so are you going to be paying for my therapy bills with this role? Because there's so much trauma that I had to rehash to get through this. And I found that one of the ways to kind of let myself be at ease with that was to just write. Actually, it began with Langston Hughes. We did the Langston Hughes poem, and I actually read like 400 Langston Hughes poems. And I was like, I love poetry. I actually studied poetry in college. And so I was like, why don't I bring that back into my life? And I began to write again in this process. And then I would have meetings with Ron where we would talk about episodes or things that he wanted to present to audiences, and I would say, hey, actually, I wrote a poem about this, and I wrote my feelings about this through the character Marcus. What do you think? And he's like, we're going to actually use those exact words.
I was just browsing the Internet Broadway database, IBDB, as you do, and I came across some facts that I found interesting. That is that the two of you were both in Frozen on Broadway. You both played Kristoff. Who's the better Kristoff? That's my question. No.
You'll have to read the comment section. Just kidding. Never read the comments.
Never.
Kristoff is a role that we both felt extremely proud of, right? To step into this role as Black men, where it was a white cartoon, and to bring it to life with both of our individual authenticity was an honor. And I'm really proud of Disney Theatricals for setting the precedent of like, if we're going to have the original be that way, then the next one should be that way, and the one after that, and the one after that, and they have not backed down from that, and they've really held on to that. And so I'm really, really proud that I got to share that with Noah, that we shared that character, that we shared that experience, that we met during that experience and became good friends during that time.
There's nothing like creating a Broadway show from the ground up. And, you build these bonds with people that are kind of indestructible. And so that's why our relationship on screen and Fellow Travelers, I think, is so great, is because we have years worth of building, pre this, where we were in the trenches together and uplifting each other and trying to figure it out. And so that's why our relationship is so beautifully depicted on screen as well.
On the note of the intimacy and those scenes, I mean, I think there's been a lot of online chatter about them with the series. These sex scenes aren't there just to get people like freaking out on Twitter, although they certainly do that. But I wondered, I mean, for the two of you, especially like if you had conversations with Ron about it ahead of time, like, why do you see these moments as like an essential part of Fellow Travelers and telling this history?
I think as gay men, a lot of how we relate to one another is sex first, relationship later. And I don't say that to shame anyone. I say that just as fact. And I think one of the things that Jelani and I try to work on throughout the series was, if you see, like, a lot of our sexual chemistry and a lot of our relationship happens after, the poem reading, where we then have our first kiss, or Santa Baby, where I'm trying to seduce him. And then we kind of go on and full on have sex, not to spoil anything. But we wanted our sex scenes to be, from this place of love and curiosity and desire for one another. And I actually love how it comes across on screen. And I think it's very different from Tim and Hawk as well.
Yeah, it was important to reveal to audiences the tenderness of the Black bodies in unison, and also like how steamy they can be. And I thought having the choice of Noah to be in drag for our quote unquote sex scene was really powerful. I've never actually seen that. I've never even heard of friends talking about that. And really, I think it introduces a language of learning to love someone that doesn't look like you.
Thank you both for the time. I mean, truly, like, the time today, but also just the time and work and intentionality put into these roles and this project. It's so beautiful. And I mean, again, this response has just been incredible. So I hope that you feel proud of it too.
Thank you
so much, Cameron. Thank you for all the kind words.